Hello, welcome to another First Chapter Friday. Our story today is inspired from a show that I saw on Netflix. It is ba, 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 Shelter, and it's by Harlan Coben. I did read this ages ago, and I remember having this great impression about the layers of secrecy that are revealed, and how it starts off where it seems so ordinary, and then all of this underlayer seediness and awful things and past history stuff that's terrible starts becoming revealed as time goes on. And I remember thinking, wow, that was a really great book. So I'm not surprised that it wasn't on Netflix, it was actually on Amazon Prime that I had seen this. And I just binge watched it. And then I wanted to remember, wait a minute, that didn't seem like the book. So here we are. And I'm going to do a little bit of, I'm going to read the first chapter, maybe two, because the first chapter was decent, but, maybe a little bit more understanding of all the important characters if I read two. And then give you a little bit of the comparison between the book and what the series does. All right, and here we go. Chapter 1. I was walking to school, lost and feeling sorry for myself. My dad was dead, and my mom in rehab, and my girlfriend missing, when I saw the Bat Lady for the first time. I'd heard the rumors, of course. The Bat Lady supposedly lived alone in a dilapidated house on the corner of Hobart Gap Road and Pine. You know the one. I stood in front of it now. The worn yellow paint was shedding like an old dog. The once solid concrete walk was cracked into quarter-size fragments. The uncut lawn had dandelions tall enough for the adult rides at the Six Flags. The Bat Lady was said to be 100 years old and only came out at night. And if some poor child hadn't made it home from a play date or practice at the Little League field before nightfall, or if he or she risked walking home in the dark instead of getting a ride, or was maybe crazy enough to cut through her yard, the Bat Lady got you. What she supposedly did with you was never made clear. No child had vanished from this town in years. Teenagers, like my girlfriend Ashley, sure, they could be here one day, holding your hand, looking deep into your eyes, making your heart go boom, 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 and then be gone the next. But little kids? Nope. They were safe, even from the Bat Lady. So I was just about to cross the road to the other side of the street, even I, a mature teenager entering my sophomore year at a brand new high school, wanted to avoid the spooky house, when the door creaked open. I froze. For a moment, nothing happened. The door was all the way open now, but no one was there. I stopped and waited. Maybe I blinked, I can't be sure. But when I looked again, the Bat Lady was there. She could have been 100 years old, or maybe 200. I have no idea why they call her the Bat Lady. She didn't look at all like a bat. Her hair was gray and hippie long, hanging down to her waist. It blew in the wind, obscuring her face. She wore a torn white gown that resembled a bridal costume in an old horror movie or heavy metal video. Her spine was bent like a question mark. Slowly, Bat Lady raised a hand so pale it was more vein blue than white, and pointed a shaky, bony finger in my direction. I said nothing. She kept pointing until she was absolutely sure I was looking. When she saw that I was, Bat Lady's wrinkled face spread into a smile that sent little icicles down my spine. Mickey? I had no idea how she knew my name. Your father isn't dead, Bat Lady said. Her words sent a jolt that knocked me back a step. He is very much alive. But standing there, watching her vanish back into her decrepit cave, I knew what she told me wasn't true, because I had seen my father die. Okay, that was weird. I stood in front of Bat Lady's house and I waited for her to come back out. No go. I walked over to her door and I looked for a doorbell. There was none, so I started pounding on the door. It shook under the onslaught. The wood was so rough it scraped my knuckles like sandpaper. Paint chips fell off as if the door had a bad case of dandruff. But the Bat Lady did not appear. So now what? Kick the door down? And then what? Find an old lady in a weird white dress and demand she explain her wackadoodle rants? Maybe she had gone upstairs. Maybe Bat Lady was now getting ready for her loony day, changing out her white dress and heading to the shower. Ugh. Time to go. I didn't want to miss my first bell anyway. My homeroom teacher, Mr. Hill, was a stickler for punctuality. Plus, I still hoped that Ashley would show up today. She had vanished into thin air. Maybe she would just reappear the same way. I met Ashley 3 weeks ago at the high school orientation for both new kids, Ashley and me, for example, and incoming freshmen, all of whom already knew one another because they went to middle school and elementary school together. No one ever seemed to leave this town. An orientation should consist of visiting your classes, getting a tour of the facilities, and maybe meeting a few classmates. But no, that's not enough. We had to participate in these moronic, dehumanizing, and totally awkward team-building exercises. The first involved the trust fall. Ms. Owens, a phys ed teacher with a smile that looked like it had been painted on by a drunk clown, started off by trying to fire us up. "Good morning, everyone!" A few groans. Then, and I hate when adults do this, she shouted, "I know you're more excited than that, so let's try it again. Good morning, everyone!" The students yelled, "Good morning," louder this time. Not because they were excited, but because they just wanted her to stop. We were broken down into groups of 6. Mine featured 3 incoming freshmen and 3 upperclassmen who had just moved to town. "One of you will stand on this pedestal and wear a blindfold," Mrs. Owens exclaimed. Everything she said had ended in an exclamation mark. "You will cross your arms, and now I want you to pretend that the pedestal is on fire. Oh no!" Mrs. Owens put her hands on her cheeks, like that kid in Home Alone. "It's so hot you'll just have to fall back." Someone raised his hand. Why would we keep our arms crossed if the pedestal was on fire?" Murmurs of agreement. Ms. Owens' painted-on smile didn't change, but I thought I did notice a twitch in her right eye. "Your arms are tied." They are? No, they're not." "Pretend!" "But if we pretend that, why do we need the blindfold? Can't we just pretend not to see?" "Or could we just close our eyes?" Ms. Owens fought for control. "The pedestal is so hot from the fire that you just fall backward off of it." "Backward? Wouldn't we just jump, Ms. Owens?" "Really, why would we fall backward? I mean, if it's all that hot." Ms. Owens had had enough. "Because I said so, you will fall backward. The rest of the group will catch you, and then you'll switch places until everyone has had a turn falling backward." We all did this, though some of us were hesitant. I'm a 6'4", weighing 200-pound man. The group winced when they saw me. Another girl in my group, an incoming freshman dressed all in black, was on the fat side. I know I should call her something other than fat, something more politically correct, but I'm not sure what without sounding condescending. Large? Chubby? Heavy? I say those without judgment, the same way I might say small, bony, or skinny. The big girl hesitated before she climbed onto the pedestal. Someone in the group laughed, then someone else. Other than to show this girl that cruelty will not stop when you enter high school, I had no idea how this exercise was supposed to help anyone. When the girl didn't fall back right away, one of the freshman boys snickered and said, "Come on, Emma, we'll catch you." It was not a voice that gave her confidence. She pulled down her blindfold and looked back at us. I met her eye and nodded. Finally, she let herself fall. We caught her, some adding some dramatic grunts, but Emma didn't look any more trusting. We then played some dumb paintball game where 2 people got hurt, and then we moved into an exercise called, I wish I were kidding, poisoned peanut butter. For this event, you had to cross over a 10-yard patch of poisoned peanut butter, but, as Ms. Owens had explained, only 2 of you can wear the anti-poison shoes to get across at a time. In short, you had to carry other team members on your back. The small girls laughed with a tee-hee-hee as they were carried. A photographer with the Star Ledger newspaper was there, snapping away. The reporter asked a glowing Ms. Owen questions, her answers filled with words like bonding, welcoming, trusting. I couldn't imagine what sort of story you'd do on something like this, but maybe they were desperate for human interest material. I stood in the back of the poisoned peanut butter line with Emma. Black mascara was running down her face with what might have been silent tears. I wondered if the photographer would get that. As it came closer to Emma's turn for teammates to carry her across the poisoned peanut butter, I could actually feel her start to shake in fear. Think about it. It's your first day at a new school, and you're a girl who weighs probably 200 pounds, and you're forced to put on gym shorts, and then, to complete some inane group task, your new, smaller classmates have to lug you like a beer keg for 10 yards, while you just want to curl up in a ball and die. Who thinks this is a good idea? Ms. Owens came over to our team. "Ready, Emma!" Emma, with a long E, or Emma. I didn't know what her name was now. Emma said nothing. "You go, girl, right across that poisoned peanut butter. You can do it." And then I said, "Ms. Owens." She turned her gaze on me. The smile never changed, but her eyes narrowed slightly. "And you are?" "My name is Mickey Bolitar. I'm an incoming sophomore, and I'm going to sit out this exercise if it's okay." Again, the flutter in Ms. Owens' right eye. "Excuse me?" "Yeah, I don't really think I'm up for being carried." The other kids looked at me like I had a third arm growing out of my forehead. "Mr. Bolitar, you're new here." The exclamation point was gone from Ms. Owens' voice. "I would think you would want to participate." "Is it mandatory?" I asked. "Excuse me?" "Is participating in this particular exercise mandatory?" "Well, no, it's not that I'm sitting it out." I looked over at Emma. "Would you mind keeping me company?" We walked away then. Behind me, I could hear the world go silent. And then Ms. Owens blew a whistle, stopping the exercise, and called for lunch. When we were a few more feet away, Emma said, "Wow." "What?" She looked me straight in the eye. You saved the fat girl. I bet you're really proud of yourself." And then she shook her head and walked away. I looked behind me. Miss Owens watched us. She still had the smile, but the glare in her eyes made it clear that I'd managed to make an enemy my first day. The sun beat down on me, and I let it. I closed my eyes for a moment, and I thought about my mother, who was coming home from rehab soon. I thought about my father, who was dead and buried. I felt very much alone. The school cafeteria was closed. School opening was still weeks away, so we all had to bring our own. I brought a buffalo chicken sub from Wilkes Deli, and I sat by myself on a grassy hill overlooking the football field. I was about to bite into it when I noticed her. She wasn't my type, though I really don't have a type. I've spent my entire life traveling overseas. My parents worked for a charitable foundation in places like Laos and Peru and Sierra Leone. I don't have any siblings. It was exciting and fun when I was a kid, but it got tiresome and difficult as I grew older. I wanted to stay in one place. I wanted to make some friends and play on one basketball team and, well, meet girls and do teenage stuff. It's hard to do that when you're backpacking in Nepal. This girl was very pretty, sure, but she was also prim and proper and preppy. Something about her looked stuck up, and though I couldn't say what, her hair was the pale blonde of a porcelain doll. She wore an actual, skirt, not one of those short ones, and what might have been bobby socks, and looked as though she had just walked out of my grandparents' Brooks Brothers catalog. I took a bite of my sandwich, and then I noticed she didn't have a lunch. Maybe she was on some kind of weird diet, but for some reason I didn't think so. I don't know why, but I decided to walk over to her. I wasn't much in the mood to talk or meet anyone. I was still reeling from all the new people in my life and really didn't want to add any more. Maybe it was just because she was so pretty. Maybe I'm just as shallow as the next guy. Or maybe it was because the lonely can sometimes sense the lonely. Maybe what drew me to her was the fact that, like me, she seemed to want to keep to herself. I approached tentatively. When I got close enough, I gave her a half wave and I said, "Hi." I always open with the super smooth lines like this. She looked up at me and shaded eyes the green of emeralds. "Hi." "Yep, very pretty." I stood there feeling awkward. My face reddened. My hands felt too big for my body. The second thing I said to her was, "My name is Mickey." Man, am I smooth or what? Every line a killer. "I'm Ashley Kent." "Cool," I said. Yeah. Somewhere in this world, in China or India or a remote section of Africa, there was probably a bigger dork than me, but I couldn't swear to that. I pointed to her empty lap. "Did you bring a lunch?" "No, I forgot." "This sandwich is huge," I said. "Do you want half?" Oh, I couldn't. But I insisted, and then she invited me to join her. Ashley was also a sophomore and also new in town. Her father, she said, was a renowned surgeon, and her mother was a lawyer. If life were a movie, this would be the part where you'd start the music montage. Some sappy songs would be playing while they flashed to Ashley and me, sharing lunch, talking and laughing and looking coy, holding hands, and in the end, with that first chaste kiss. That was 3 weeks ago. I made it into Mr. Hill's class, just as the bell sounded. He took roll call. The bell pealed again, and it was time for first period. Ashley's homeroom was across the hall. I waited and saw that yet again she wasn't there. I described Ashley before as my girlfriend. That might have been an exaggeration. We were taking it slow, I guess. We'd kissed twice, no more. I didn't really like anyone else at my new school. I liked her. It wasn't love, but it was also early. On the other hand, feelings like this usually diminish. That's the truth. We like to pretend that they're going to grow as we get closer to our new partner, but most times it's the opposite. We guys see the gorgeous girl and we get this big time crush, the one that makes it hard to breathe and it makes us so anxious and want it so bad that we always blow it. If we do somehow land her, the feelings begin to diminish almost immediately. In this case, my feelings for Ashley really did grow. That was a little scary in a good way. And then one day I came to school and Ashley was absent. I tried her cell phone, but there was no answer. She was gone the next day too, and then the next. I wasn't sure what to do. I didn't have her home address. I checked her name, Kent, online, but they must have been unlisted. In fact, there was nothing about her online at all. Ashley had simply vanished into thin air. Okay, I'm just going to stop at the first chapter because, why not? The series does a big switch where right from the beginning, Mickey is living with his uncle in the books, but he's living with his aunt in the show. And I did a little research and I found out the reason they did that switch isn't just the female-male switch thing. They did it because Amazon and Netflix were going after these books, the Shelter series, and Netflix got the permission to do the Uncle Myron, who is described in the series as the amazing basketball player that was legendary, and he has some sort of backstory. Well, Netflix are going to be doing the series that involves the uncle, and Amazon Prime got the permission to do the Mickey, the nephew who was in this chapter, in his story. So pretty good reason that they had to switch out and not include the uncle. But then there's a lot of other switches. Some of them are just, they switch some nationalities, and there's some differences with, why mom's not in the picture compared to in the books. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers, don't worry. There's who's romantically interested in whom is quite different. And I feel like there's even more darkness in some of the things that he uncovers in the books, but it is still a clean read that would be acceptable for, I'd say, 13 and up reading. And there you go. That's my summary for you and some of the differences. The series actually includes more of what happens in the sequential books too. I'll just let you know. So you definitely want to finish reading all of the books in the series before you watch the Amazon Prime. And I appreciate you watching and listening, and I hope you have a great week. Take care.